Hello and welcome. This is In the News. I'm your host, Keith Lander. Thank you for viewing. We're off to another new year. So if you made any New Year's resolutions, most people probably already broke them already, like I have. I made one on New Year's Day and it was done January the 2nd. So much for New Year's resolutions, huh? But I hope you have a blessed and prosperous new year. You know, do some things that you thought about doing last year. You got a chance to do them this year. As a matter of fact, go past and visit somebody you haven't seen in a long time, you know. I used to hear the old people say the older you get, the more funerals you go to. Well, that's true. And I tell you what, and time speeds up, seems like it. So if you haven't seen an individual or family member in a long time, go past and check on them, you know what I mean? And bring something. Just don't come empty-handed. And bring something there. Yeah, have a little dinner or something and enjoy yourself, man, because life is short. You can guarantee it. Nobody's promised the next hour. You know, you're here today and you'll be gone tomorrow. So we got to appreciate each other while we're here. You know what I mean? Because I go to these funerals, I hear people say a lot of good things about the dead, but the dead can't hear them. So tell people how much you enjoy them while they're alive so you can hear them. Got it? All right. So let's start off the news. This is a news show about, we do local news, national news, and everything else in between. And you'll get some commentary by me, of course. So the first story. This is from WHIO TV, News Center 7. Butler Township Sergeant on leave after video shows him punching a woman during an arrest. Now, a Butler Township police sergeant has been placed on leave after a video surfaced of him punching a woman during an arrest at a local McDonald's. It says the video, which was posted publicly on Facebook and sent to News Center 7 by multiple people, was recorded by a bystander Monday, January 16th around 4:40 p.m. It showed the officer punching a woman multiple times during an arrest at a McDonald's on York Common Boulevard. Now, you'll probably see the video. We'll show it up because it's been widely viewed. Butler Police Chief John Porter confirmed the video Tuesday. On Wednesday, Porter identified the officers involved in the call as Sergeant Todd Stanley and Officer Tim Zeller. Stanley has been with the department for 22 years, while Zellers has been with the department 21 years. Neither of the officers has any previous reprimands in their file. So what happened? Basically, the officers arrived on the scene. Body cameras and body cruiser camera video shows the woman identified as Latika Hancock waiting in her car to tell the police her side of the story. When Staley told her to fill out a formal notice for trespassing, she refused to give the officers information. Now here's where it all started. The conversation starts calmly, but quickly escalated before becoming physical as officers said Hancock resisted arrest and failure to identify. At one point on the body cam video shows Zellers with his taser and Stanley punching her in the face 3 different times up against the cruiser in handcuffs. Now, according to the police chief, he says one of the reasons behind Stanley being put on leave was because the department has started to receive a lot of hate mail as the video was shown on social media. Now, this police chief, you need to question this, folks, because anytime there's an altercation like this or a alleged abuse of power by a police officer, that officer should be placed on administrative leave regardless of how many threats the department get. That's just standard procedure, I think, all across the United States. So this police chief is not being honest in what he's saying already. And these guys are veteran police officers. They're not rookies, they're veterans, right? And so let me go on and finish. He said Ms. Hancock was charged with resisting arrest and failure to identify. She also cited with driving under suspension and having an open container of alcohol in her vehicle. According to News Center 7, they reached out to Ms. Hancock and she said she hired Michael L. Wright from the law firm Wright and Schulte to represent her. Also, the NAACP was involved in making sure that Ms. Hancock's civil rights are not violated. If they were violated, make sure that that department and the Butler Township Police Department also pays for abuse of Ms. Hancock. Because I can tell you, folks, The police is there to de-escalate situations, not to escalate those situations. And the fact of the matter is, I can guarantee you, if you look at those police policies, punching a woman in the face over several times while she's being handcuffed is not in the policy manual anywhere in the United States, as far as I know, any police procedure. So they're wrong. And by these guys being veterans, it looked like it was normal activity to them. And thank God there was a bystander who recorded this thing, because otherwise it would have went away. They would have called Miss Hancock a liar, and she wouldn't have got her just due. So people, if you got a cell phone, you see an incident like this, grab it, hit the camera, video it, and when you video it, you send it to every news outlet you can, and put it on social media, because we can bring to light some of these corrupt police officers who are abusing and misusing citizens in their own district. So I hope that Attorney Wright, along with the NAACP, I hope they get Ms. Hancock what she deserves, and that is a lawsuit against that police department, and make them pay. And that Officer Stanley, should never work in a police department anywhere in the United States. None. Nowhere. Plain and simple. You only get one chance. And Officer Stanley blew his by punching a woman with handcuffs in the face several times, unnecessary. So we ain't playing with this no more, folks. The good police officers got to get rid of these bad police officers, because it's making the whole department look bad. That's what we were saying when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, and it's still going on. And that's what we're saying now. We have to get rid of these rogue police officers, and especially if they're guilty on camera. Got to get rid of them, folks. All right. The next story, there's been a whole bunch of controversy around President Biden and some documents that was found in one of his locations of his office that he had when he was vice president. And then there was another few documents found at another place at his residence. It's been reported at maybe in his garage or somewhere like that, classified documents. And now people are saying, see, you jumped on Donald Trump when Donald Trump had all these documents, and now President Biden has some documents that should have been turned over. Let me explain to you the difference for that, folks. Y'all listen up. Listen really good. Now, this is according to Bradley Moss out of Washington, D.C., a lawyer who works on national security cases. He told PolitiFact that there's a threshold of similarities that exists between both cases. But Mr. Trump and President Biden had documents with classified markings stored in unauthorized location while they were private citizens, Moss said. Now, that may impose a violation of federal law. Nay. Now, here's the difference. The Biden team and the Trump team approached this in two completely different ways, Mr. Moss says. The Biden team did what it's supposed to do by by identifying and notifying the government of the locations of the documents and returning them to government control. As far as we know in media reporting, the Biden team has cooperated with the inquiry. Now, by contrast, Mr. Moss said, the Trump team did none of that. The Trump team again and again delayed, obstructed, didn't turn over documents when asked. When the National Archives and the Justice Department asked Mr. Trump for the documents, he said he didn't have any. He said he turned them all over at one time. He had his lawyers write up a fake document that said all the documents was turned in. Kind of found out that was a lie. Kind of found out then Mr. Trump said he owned the documents. They're all his. They're not his. They belong to the National Archives. And the fact of the matter is, they waited a year, and Donald Trump had over 1,000 of these classified top secret documents that he didn't turn over. So the difference, folks, is that normally, if a government official finds that he has classified documents and it may have mistakenly been put somewhere, they turn it over and everybody going about their way. Donald Trump made an issue of it. That's why it's being made known through the media that you have to turn these documents in, and Donald Trump didn't want to turn them in, which posed a threat to the national security, because we don't know who else seen these documents or what Donald Trump was going to do with these documents. Was he going to sell them? Because he certainly wasn't going. He had to show them to somebody, otherwise he wouldn't have kept them. He wouldn't be talking about they're his. So the bottom line is, President Biden did what you're supposed to do. Donald Trump did not. That's why they sent the search warrant down there to go in and take those documents, because Donald Trump refused to give them back, and he lied about it for over a year. You got it? That's the difference, folks. These news outlets want to make it seem like these things are too equal. They're not equal. Donald Trump violated the law. President Biden did what he's supposed to do with the documents. So stop saying it's nonsense. Both of these are the same. They're not the same. You know what I mean? They're not. So let's get rid of that nonsense. Yeah, we're moving on. Let's stay with the government. Have you heard of an individual named George Santos? George Santos has taken, he won elected office to Republican, a representative in the House of Representatives out of New York, the 3rd Ward. George Santos has lied so much that he make Donald Trump look like choir boy. So let me disclose some of the lies that George Santos has said. Okay, this is out of the New York Times. The New York Times revealed that George Santos is not quite the man and he sold himself to the voters. He lied about where he went to high school. Santos, whose parents immigrated from Brazil, said he attended the Horseman School in the Bronx during his first years of high school, but had to leave the prestigious private academy in his senior year because his parents fell on hard time. Later, a spokesman for George Santos told CNN in December that there's no evidence he attended Horseman High School. Later, Mr. Santos got a equivalent diploma from high school. That's the first lie. Second lie, he lied about going to college. He said he graduated in economics and finance from Birch College in 2010. That didn't happen. So he didn't go to high school where he said. He didn't go to the college where he said. The New York Post put out a story that said he didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning. Also, he said he worked on Wall Street. According to his bio said he worked at Goldman Sachs and Citicorp. Both representatives for these companies told the Times that he has no record of doing this. He lied about where he worked. Also, he alleged swindled a disabled vet whose dog was dying. And it was about $3,000. It was a vet. This is back in May 2016. A veteran had a dog. The veteran, he fell on hard times. He needed somebody to take care of his dog. Somebody told him about George Santos, which that wasn't his name. He used the name Anthony DeVoyer at that point. And he's supposed to have a GoFundMe page for Friends of Pets. And they raised $3,000. And the veteran said that he didn't get a dime of that money from George Santos. Also, now this man, you got to be some kind of low-life dude to lie on your mama. This guy lied on his mama. He said his mother died from being in the September attack on 9/11. Come to find out, it was on the congressman's website that he said his mother was in the South Tower during the September 11th attacks. Get this, folks, newly attained records indicate that his mother was living in Rio de Janeiro at the time. It goes on, folks. He lied about his grandmother. He said his grandmother was definitely not a Holocaust victim. He says that one time that he was Jewish and his folks, was persecuted, and come to find out he wasn't Jewish and his folks ain't Jewish, no way. He also lied about having employees who died in the Post nightclub shooting. You remember that back in 2016. But the Times found that none of the 29 victims at the Orlando club worked at any of the companies that he named in his biography. George Santos, that is. It gets worse, folks. There are reports that said he was a drag queen in Brazil. Now, one of the drag queens, Ella Rochert, who claims she was a friend with Santos in 2005 when he also performing as a drag queen in Rio de Janeiro area. Also, that another Santos friend, Miss Gay Rio de Janeiro, said that he regularly performed and participated in drag pageants. To make matters worse, CNBC reported that a campaign staff member named Sam, I think that's McGill, or as M-I-E-L-E, you can pronounce it any way you want to, impersonated the Chief of Staff House Speaker Kevin McCarthy during a 2022 and 2022 cycle to raise money. So this guy impersonated the fact that he was part of Kevin McCarthy, who's the Speaker of the House, to raise some money. Folks, look, this man who's basically lied his way to be a congressman, the folks in New York, the Republican Party in New York, over that district, does not want to have anything to do with this man, and rightfully so. This man's a fraud. This man's a liar. This man has stated that he lied on his resume, and yet he still holds a Congress seat. And as a matter of fact, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy has given this man 2 committees, put him on 2 committees. A known liar. So come on, folks. This guy should not be anywhere in the House of Representatives. We all know that. George Santos, if that's his name, it may not be his name. He may got an alias. I don't know where this man come from, right? But the Republican Party, along with Kevin McCarthy, has embraced this man and won't do anything. And they know he's a liar. He lied on his mama, y'all. On his mama. On his mama's death. On top of that, what happened to the morals and values from the Republican Party? Did they just throw that out the window? What happened to all these Bible thumping Christians? I'm Republican. I go by Republican values. I love this Bible so much, and they kiss the Bible. I love this Bible. But when it comes to George Santos, who lied, continues to lie, yeah, you don't want to pay attention to that. When it comes to Donald Trump, who lied and continues to lie, I ain't gonna pay no attention to that. Come on, y'all. Where's the moral compass of this thing? Huh? How can you be a man and a Speaker of the House? You know you got a lying freshman congressman in your midst and not say nothing? Come on, Kevin McCarthy. Man, what kind of man are you? Or are you a man? Huh? You look awful wimpy to me. And the rest of you people in the Republican Party, the leadership, where y'all at? Kevin McCarthy ain't the only one. Y'all can speak up and say, no, we want this man out of here. Like the folks did in New York, the Republican Party in New York. They said, no, in this district, we don't want to deal with him. They stood up. You know what I mean? Why is it hard for you, Kevin McCarthy? Are you that weak? And if you're that weak, why are you the speaker? You can't lead nobody. They leading you. So I just want to bring that up, folks. There's also been some talk about the immigration. And I just want to bring this up just to clear up some things. Alex Norrest, who's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he's of the Cato Institute, which is a non-partisan fact-check institute. And he has some response to some of the myths about immigration. The first one is that immigrants will take American jobs, lower wages, and especially hurt the poor. The fact is, immigrants don't take American jobs, lower wages, or push the poor out of the job market. Now, I can attest to that, and I don't even have to be a Cato Institute scholar. I can tell you that there's over 10 million job openings here in the United States. 10 million. And so if the American people don't want these jobs, somebody can come in and get them. You know what I mean? Because American people don't seem to be wanting them too bad. The other myth is, it's easy to immigrate here legally. Why don't illegal immigrants just get in line? It's very difficult. The fact is, it's very difficult to immigrate legally into the United States. Immigration laws is second only to income tax code and legal complexity. And it is very hard to get here illegally. You know what I mean? Because once you get here illegally, you can't do anything. You don't get you can't work. Well, you can work. Some of these companies hire these people. That's why they come. The other reason, let me point this out. One of the reasons why you get a big influx of migrants headed to the border is because you hear politicians, mostly coming out of the Republican Party, keep saying that President Biden got open borders. President Biden, the borders are open. The borders are open. The borders are open. You see that several of them. They'll say it on the news repeatedly. The borders are open. The borders are open. Well, these people in these South American countries, they got TVs. They got cell phones. They got news. When they hear a representative of Congress say that the border's open, well, guess what? You got some people who make money transporting people to the border. They come in, they show these people, look, the border's open. Here's a representative of the United States government. He's saying the border's open. Come on, pack your bags. Let's go. We're going to the border. When they get to the border, they realize this border's not open. We can't get in there. We're going back to where we come from. And then you got all these influx of people, right? So that's one of the reasons, folks. And the bottom line is, when you watch this stuff on some of these propagated news shows, they show you mostly the same old pictures. I can even tell you what picture they show. They show you a picture of these immigrants lined up along the fence of the border. And they show you a guy with two white bags walking back towards the folks, and another guy with another bag walking back toward the folks, right? They show you that picture repeatedly, over and over again. Then they'll show you some folks who were lined up like on the highway, right? They show you that picture. So why do they keep showing you the same picture over and over and over again? You know why? Because the Border Patrol and the people who work the border are doing their job. When these people come to the border, they make sure that these people who want political asylum, you got to go through a process. And if you don't, and if you cross the border illegally from a different port of entry, they capture you, they send you back to where you come from. See, you're doing a disservice to all those hard-working people down there on the border. If you keep talking about, the border's open, ain't nobody doing nothing about the border. You're doing a disservice to those hard-working men and women down there who are trying to process these people as quickly as they can. So the bottom line is, all these people belly aching about the border, what's your solution? Huh? What is your solution? All you people, I hear them all the time, especially from the Republican Party. They always belly aching about the border. The border this, the border this, the border this, the border this. Especially that Jim Jordan out of Ohio. He's the biggest loudmouth you ever want to see. Ain't proposed a piece of legislation to help nobody. Ask Jim Jordan, what is his solution to this? And I guarantee you're going to get total silence. Like you got total silence on the Obamacare, remember Affordable Care Act? Remember the Republican Party said we're gonna get rid of it, we're gonna come back and we're gonna replace it with something bigger and better. Didn't happen, right? Ain't happened to this day. Remember they said on infrastructure? Donald Trump said, we're gonna do some infrastructure, we're gonna build. Didn't happen, right? Remember they said they're gonna do something about prescription drug prices going up through the roof. They're gonna lower prescription prices. You know what the Republican Party did with it? They didn't do anything. It was the Democrats came in and put these prescription drug prices in place. And so all the things that affect, most of the things that affect the American people, the Republican Party gives a whole bunch of lip service, and that's a fact. But the Democratic Party comes around and offers solutions, and they work. You know how many people got getting insurance on that Affordable Care Act, as they call Obamacare? You know how many? Tens of millions of them. And the price is low. It's doing just like it was designed. Was it a rocky start? Yeah, because there's a big old piece of legislation going out. But when you got all the kinks out the system, it's working smooth. And a whole bunch of them people out there hollering and screaming about they didn't want it. Well, they enjoying it now, ain't they? So the next time these people talking about the border, ask them what they're going to do. And if they got a solution, maybe we'll work with it. All right. A 6-year-old boy opened fire in his classroom. The elementary school student had been taken into custody after shooting and seriously injuring his teacher, according to ABC News. No students were injured. A 6-year-old boy opened fire in his first grade teacher at Rich Neck Elementary School in Virginia. And police chief Steve Drew claims the shooting wasn't an accident. Not only that, there was just before Christmas, there was a 10-year-old boy in Milwaukee who was charged as an adult for fatally shooting his mother, folks. Now, look, parents, if you got a gun laying around the house, use some gun safety. get you a gun lock, get you a gun safe box, try to prevent incidents like this from happening. And I asked myself, where do a 6-year-old boy get the idea that he don't like something the teacher done, that he's going to find the gun wherever he found it at and go to the school and shoot the teacher? 6 years old. We have to be careful as adults and as parents what we let our kids listen to and watch, because we can program those kids to act in the most violent way. And if you let your kids listen to adult music, let them watch adult videos, I ain't talking about pornography, I'm talking about adult with the singing and the cuss words and the guns and all that stuff, glorify that. And if you talk that way around your kid all the time, guess what that kid get the idea? Somebody mess with me, he do something I don't like, get my gun, I'm gonna shoot him. I heard my daddy say that, I heard my mama say that, I heard my aunt say that, I heard my grandmother say that. So it must be the right thing to do. Be careful how and what your kids are listening to and watching. Because we can't have this, a 6-year-old going to school with a gun and shooting a teacher. Shoot, we 6 years old and we can barely get a doggone water gun. You know what I mean? These kids getting a real gun and taking it to school. So come on, parents, if you got a gun, practice safety with that gun. Lock it up. They had all kind of mechanisms you can lock that gun up. You know what I mean? So let's do that. Let's not hear another story like this again. All right? Georgia public school students sued a district over discriminatory dress code. A Georgia school district is being sued by a group of students for what they are calling discriminatory dress codes, according to the suit filed at the U.S. District Court. The students at Effingham County, Georgia, say they were not allowed to wear Black Lives Matter t-shirts at the school and at school-sponsored events, even though their white classmates wore Confederate flags embroidered on their clothing regularly. So these students are suing the school district because they say the school district wouldn't let them allow to wear Black Lives Matter shirts and whatever, but they allow the other students to wear Confederate flags all over their clothes and whatever. So a lawsuit has been filed, and we'll see where that lawsuit go, because I don't think they should be wearing no Confederate flag. If you know anything about what the Confederacy did, they wanted to separate from the United States because they wanted to keep their slaves, basically. So they went to war, right? And that flag was the flag they picked to represent them, not the United States flag with all the stars and stripes. They said, heck with that. We got this flag with the Confederate X on it and these stars on it. That's going to be our flag. We're getting away with the United States. We're doing our own thing because we want to keep our slaves and we want to make sure they work and make us wealthy. That's what the Confederate flag represents, folks. If you didn't know, now you know. And maybe these students will be successful in their case. We will see where that goes. Dana White. If you know anything about Dana White is the individual who is responsible for creating the mixed martial arts fighting championships. They go by the UFC. And Dana White was caught on video with an altercation with his wife. And on New Year's Eve. TMZ Sports obtained the video of White and his wife appearing to argue at a club in San Lucas, Mexico. Now, his wife appeared to slap him, and then he slapped her back. Now, White told the TMZ Sports that he was embarrassed. I guess so. He says, I'm one of the guys you heard me say for years, there's never ever excuse for a guy to put his hands on a woman. He must have forgot that, didn't he? He forgot that in a hurry, didn't he? So they've been married for 30 years, you know, good rhythm. But the bottom line is, folks, that here's what Dana White said some years ago. He says, there's one thing that you never bounce back from, and that's putting your hands on a woman, he said. It's been that way in the UFC since we started. You don't bounce back from putting your hands on a woman. That's what Dana White said at that time. And you remember the former Baltimore Ravens running back, Ray Rice, who punched his fiance in the elevator? You remember that? Then White came back again. He defended the UFC approach toward domestic violence and said this company had a track record of getting rid of people who have done bad things. Well, Mr. White, here you are. We heard what you said. I just read what you said about putting your hands on a woman. Now, you can get in these press conferences and you can talk about, I've already suffered, I got punishment and all that kind of thing. You're either going to be a man of your word or you ain't, Mr. White. And it looks like, Mr. White, you're not a man of your word. And then right off you talking about the UFC wasn't going to tolerate violence and all this kind of thing, hitting a woman. You went on ahead and you signed up Greg Hardy, the former NFL player, who was originally convicted of assaulting and threatened to kill his ex-girlfriend in 2014. And the conviction was later expunged from his record after the woman did not attend appearing to provide testimony. So Dana White, you know what I mean, you big, successful, wealthy individual, slapping your wife around. You say one thing about domestic violence and then you turn around and you do something else. Do you know what we call that? Hypocrisy. And I only bring that up because Dana White said you never bounce back. Well, I guess Dana White doesn't bounce back since the shoe's on his foot. You know what I mean? And just think, let me see if this was, let's see, how about LeBron James? If LeBron James was seen on camera hitting his wife, huh? Would y'all still have that same level of, well, shrug your shoulders? If it was LeBron James, no, he'll be on every news outlet you can think about. You've even seen the video 1,000 times. Every time they put a camera and a microphone in LeBron James' mouth, they'd ask him the question. But Dana White didn't get that treatment, did he? Nah, he had a couple of press conferences and he moved on. So, I'm just pointing out the differences in how people are treated, folks, and what they say and what they actually do, you know? Because you can tell me anything. I'm not interested in what you tell me. I'm interested in what you do. So, now with that in mind, we're gonna close this show this month, and next month we'll come back with some more. So until the next time, may God bless you and your family.